first thing I wanted to do is introduce myself, and my name is Matt, and I own the American Edge, which is a sharpening business in New Hampshire. I started the American Edge when I was deployed to Djibouti in 2015. And actually, I started sharpening in Djibouti. It wasn't until I got home in 2016 that I started to monetize sharpening in the form of a business. And my goal there was to generate some money that I could then invest into my homestead in a pursuit to be more self-reliant and independent and just kind of invest in our future as a family. So I actually underestimated the power of sharpening, and I think my goal was to make $5,000 in 5 years. And I definitely learned a lot the hard way, but it's grown to the point where it's still a side business of mine. And I serve about 30 to 40 customers a month, which is, my target is really one customer a day. And that generates between $1,500 and $2,000 a month, which grossly exceeds my initial expectations, but I've been able to reinvest that in a lot of different ways. So that's kind of like the quick history to present day of the American Edge, and I'll pass it over to you, Paul, to share your story.
Hi, Matt. I'm Paul Seymour. I run the Alexandria Knife Sharpening in Alexandria, Virginia. Very similar to Matt's story in a lot of ways. A few years ago, I retired from police work, and had a couple different things that I was doing when I first retired, which was like in 2015. But I was always into knives and sharpening knives and doing things like that. But my actual first business after retirement was a pet sitting business. And that did really well until the beginning of the pandemic stuff. It's really started to hurt the business because where I live, everybody was teleworking. They all work from home. We have a lot of government workers in this area. So, and interesting, my wife also around the same time took a deployment overseas. She works for the DoD Inspector General, and she was in Kuwait for a year. So during that time, I decided to start converting what I was doing and get out of the pet sitting business and start sharpening knives as a kind of side gig, and had kind of no idea what direction it was going to go or how how much money I was going to make. But similar to Matt, I wasn't looking to make a ton of money. I literally thought what my first piece of gear I bought, I thought it was going to take me about a year to pay it off. I figured I might get one or two customers a month, and it turned out way. I paid off that first piece of gear, which was a Wicked Edge, in probably 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. And I very quickly realized that there was a big need for sharpening in the area I was in. And then I went on a quest to just like constantly get faster forms of sharpening and to be able to offer more and more services. I eventually landed on my primary thing that I use is the Tormek, and that's kind of why we're here today, is to talk about a new group we're starting within the Guild of Professional Sharpeners. Matt and I discussed it, and we talked about starting a Tormek users group. So that's what I've been working on. And the goal of this group is to kind of introduce people to Tormek sharpening. And I think probably the biggest thing is one of the biggest complaints that we always hear, or that I hear a lot, and I do a lot of work with the Tormek, is that it's too slow. And I just want to kind of show guys that, I'm sorry, everybody, we got girls in here too. I'm from New Jersey, so I will often say you guys and stuff like that. It's just the way I talk. Sorry about that, but ladies, no vets. But we my goal is basically to show everybody that the Tormek doesn't have to be slow. It can be a very efficient and fantastic way to sharpen. There are things you can do and processes you can do to speed up the process. And so if you have a Tormek already and you've kind of drifted away from using it, maybe this will help pique your interest in it and maybe give you some ideas of things that you can do or changes you might make to start using your Tormek again and work it back into your routine. For some people that are interested in Tormek sharpening right from Jump Street, it might give you some good ideas to, about, is this a form of sharpening that you want to have in your shop? And that's kind of our goal. And so I've kind of broken down the into a lot of different sections, but the main one, there's going to be links to a lot of Tormek videos that are already out there, but I've tried to go through and get the really good stuff, and a lot of that's going to be for new people that are learning Tormek stuff for the first time. So there's a lot of good basic stuff, and there'll be different presenters. Not all of it's from Tormek. Some of it's just from other guys that use Tormeks. And I tried to pick the best of the best and kind of put that in there so you can kind of go through that. Then there's an advanced topic section, and in there, that's going to be mostly the videos that I've produced for the group. And that's going to be all different things about just speeding up the process. And even for just the group in general, even if you're not a Tormek person, I've also included other videos and things that I hope that you guys get some value out of. So there's going to be some stuff in there that's not even Tormek related, but just related to my process of what I do here in Alexandria to give you some added value and ways to, maybe increase what you're doing. And I'll just touch on that real quick, but, a lot of some sharpeners out there, a lot of people go to, farmers markets and stuff like that. I'm not that style sharpener. I'm more of a higher end sharpening service. My clients range from many professional chefs to very advanced home users who are really into cooking, and or really high end EDC owners and that kind of stuff. So I kind of show, some of the things that I do a lot with, like dental abrasives and polishing and different things that you're not going to see most likely at the farmer's market sharpening guy. So check it out. Even if you're not a Tormek person or maybe anti-Tormek, there still might be some things in there that you go, wow, that might work for me, or you might see something that you like and want to work into your own sharpening for what you're doing where you live. And it's going to be kind of an ongoing thing too. We're going to be releasing it, I think we're the end of the week. And I will continue to add stuff to it as more things come up. And as you guys have questions, if you, let me know, hey, Paul, could you go into more detail about this or that? I will try and, add more videos and add stuff to it, and we'll go from there and see how it goes.
Yeah, Paul, I think I'm going to take a quick minute just to give a backstory on the guild and what it is, and how this is a kind of a new space within that community. But it goes back, it was like 3 years into my sharpening business where some things finally clicked, and I had this thought like, man, if I knew this stuff back at year one, I could have shaved years off of my growth plan. And I got pretty excited about it, and I ended up in the excitement, I reached out to Nick Loper at Side Hustle Nation, and he was interested in it. I got on his show, but then that kind of built this whole idea of like, I should share this. Like, other people need to know this, both like how much opportunity there is in sharpening. Like every small town should have a sharpener in it, not to mention like the bigger cities and suburbs should have several. It generates a respectable revenue for the time output and all sorts of other things. Like the cost to get involved is not exorbitant when you think in terms of business. So that kind of spawned this idea of formalizing this content. But I didn't want to just do a course, because I felt like one of the things that would be great would be to have like continuing learning, because there's always more to learn. I'm still learning so much about sharpening. So I needed a community. My vision was to have like a community with courses to support the community. So after a bunch of time, I found the Mighty Networks platform, and it seemed like the best fit with regard to like software to what I was trying to build. So I did make some formalized courses. These are like pre-recorded courses, and you can do them at self-paced, but I'm always there in the community to answer questions as people progress through the courses. So that was kind of like the genesis of starting the guild. I started to put the word out about it. It's been a nice, like slow but steady growth with people pursuing similar objectives. I've added a few more courses to it. The software has gotten better over time. So there's a lot of features within there. And late last year, they released a new addition to their software, which was, they call it Spaces, but it makes it a lot more opportunity to set up specific groups. And then, Paul and I connected, and Paul's been awesome. He's got awesome stuff going on, and he's volunteered to make this new space for Tormek users because he, as he's mentioned there, he recognized that some people who get into Tormek sometimes get frustrated with some aspects of it, and I fall into that group too. So I've learned a lot already from Paul about the Tormek and how I could bring it back into my system. And then his generosity to make this group and like to lead it and to be the host of this Tormek users group was really exciting for me. So and Paul, you've done an awesome job introducing that group. Is there anything else we should discuss here regarding like what's inside of it? Like you mentioned you built out a whole thing to like really the intro stuff. Like here's like if you're just getting into the machine, like here's the jigs, here's how it works. Like I feel, after you've been using the machine so much, like building content around the basics isn't as much fun for you as it is to illustrate like the next level topics. And a lot of that stuff's been done. So you've got like structured content to get started on the Tormek, but then you've also put together your own series of videos and content about how to really take the Tormek to the next level, especially in a professional atmosphere. All the different options for the wheels and when you'd want to buy which ones and how you're going to use them. And then you're a member of the guild, you're a host of that space. So like you're always going to be there to answer questions and provide feedback as people navigate the Tormek in their business. Am I capturing that fairly, do you think?
Yeah, you really nailed it, Matt. I did try and go back and go through my head to when I was first using the Tormek and think of things that like confused me. Like one of the videos I went into kind of using it. One of them was the Sharpie trick. And so I did a pretty in detail video of that to try and get that across to people, because the first time I saw it, I was reading it out of one of the manuals, and I just couldn't picture it. Just wasn't clicking for me. So I tried to do a lot of that. I've tried to save people money too by I did little videos on each one of the different jigs, which ones I think are good, which ones I think are terrible. Granted, they're my opinion. There might be other people, you could talk to anyone. Someone's going to tell you, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. But there's some that like I just never grab after doing this for 3 years and using a Tormek every day. There's some that I just think are terrible. So you'll see that in there. You can kind of take a look through there. I recommend exactly. And one reason for this too is because one thing Tormek's doing now, which is kind of nice, they're letting you build your own machine in a way, which before when you bought it, it was like kind of $1,200 and it came with a bunch of stuff that a lot of people never used. Now you can just get the machine. You can pick what type of honing wheel you want. You can select what jigs you want. So you can get that cost down to like $500-$600 range if you kind of have an idea what you want. So I talk about for knife sharpeners, basically, or people that are sharpening as a business, here's the things you absolutely want to have. I've even talked about some of the off-market stuff like when and some of those things, and show them and tell the positives and negatives of that stuff. And that's kind of where we're going there. And the other thing that will be interesting, I think for some of you that I get into, is that you won't get from Tormek or anything. So the Tormek are kind of committed to two things. They have their water stones that are regular stones that come with it, and then they have their diamond stones. And they're not going to talk much about CBN, and they actually talk it down a little bit. And I think, in my opinion, it's just because they're not invested in it. So they're invested in diamond stones. So if you aren't happy with the regular SJ, I forget what the number is, standard stone that comes with your Tormek, they're gonna try and push you into buying one of their diamond stones. And we have a lot of options out there from other places. And CBN is, like, for me, that was a big game changer. So you will hear a lot about CBN in this group, and a lot of the videos, because the way I really sped up my Tormek process was by going to CBN wheels. Now, there's a couple cool things with CBN. Is one, they're a lot less expensive than the Tormek diamond wheels. And one of the cool things, we've managed to secure a discount from Woodturner's Wonders, who is one of the best providers of really affordable CBN wheels out there. I've been using their wheels for a couple years now. I have 6 CBN wheels from Woodturner's Wonders, some for grinders, some for my Tormek, 4 of them for the Tormek. And they've been kind enough to become a new provider of a discount for guild members. So we'll be giving more detail on how you guys can go about getting that discount. So we've been able to bring that into the guild, but that's kind of where we're at. And so, we're kind of at a point where it's like, I think it's time, like, sometimes you can talk and talk and talk, and if you don't ever do and just get it out there. And I'm kind of glad, like, Matt's kind of called me up today, and yesterday we were supposed to do this Thursday. He's like, hey, let's do it Wednesday. And it's like, and I was even watching Cliff Curry did a video the other day of his new shop, and he was like, hey, it's going to look terrible in here. There's going to be stuff all over the place, but if I don't do this now, we're never going to get it out there. And that's kind of how I feel with this. Like, sometimes we just got to, like, put it out there, and we'll get your feedback, and we'll tweak it and continue to make it better and answer more stuff as we go. But that's the goal. We hope you guys love it. We hope it adds value to the group. And that's one of the reasons I did it. Matt and I have talked extensively. We won't have to go into too much detail about it, but this is where I found my home here. Like, this is where I come for answers for stuff. And I agree with Matt. Like, no matter how much you think you know about sharpening, you're never gonna know it all. And even we sometimes, one of the videos, I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to share a video of a mistake I made. And fortunately I haven't made many, but in 3 years I made one big mistake. And I'm going to share that, in the group of, why it's good to have a resource like the guild. And if I had been a little bit smarter and had gone to the guild and said, hey, has anyone seen this before, I probably wouldn't have made this mistake that I made, which I got very fortunate. It didn't cost me a lot of money, but it could have cost me a lot of money. And it was merely for the fact that I was at a point where I'm like, oh, I know everything. I've seen every knife. And I'll give you a little preview of it. It was a mistake with a shoon. And I was like, oh, I've seen every shoon knife that's ever been created. I've sharpened probably, 500 shoon knives last year. And I should have taken the time to either reach out or ask about it or come to the guild and see if someone else knew a little bit more about it. So there's always more to learn. It's always great to have resources. There has been times I've jumped on the guild and asked a question because I was under like a time constraint, and someone's, recently Grant answered a question for me, went and found some information on coconut machetes of all things. I never thought I was going to see that in Alexandria, and I made $40 in like 5 minutes because Grant helped me out, got me the answer I was looking for. So we just hope to see this keep growing. I think it's a great community, and I hope that what I did here brings some value to everybody that's a part of the guild, and that's our hope here.
Yeah, it definitely is, Paul. And the just to highlight the discount code that you've also coordinated that with Woodturner's Wonders, which I'm deeply appreciative of. We do have a running list of discount codes for members of the guild. The vision there is that the cost of membership to the guild essentially pays for itself by the discounts that you can get by growing and running your business. So we have several discount codes, and I'm really excited to add this one. I also use Woodturner's Wonders CBN wheels. I haven't invested in the Tormek ones yet, but I do have them, and they are exceptional. And they've also been a guest, and they're going to be a guest again for one of our weekly calls that we do live. So tons of value there. I'm excited about it. There will be a lot more going on inside the guild, and Paul and I will make sure that we include links. And Paul, I'll include links to your YouTube channel. That's also an awesome resource. You're putting out really great content there. And as a member of the sharpening community, I appreciate the work that you're putting into both putting out the content on YouTube, sharing everything that you learn in a very humble and respectful way inside the guild. Which is really like the community that we're building there is like a really, the whole thing is like helping each other succeed. And that's kind of the atmosphere that we set in there. So, and then, just, I think that's it. We'll have links set up everywhere. If there's any closing thoughts, Paul, I'll pass it over to you.
I do. I just have one quick little closing thought that came to mind. I'd just like to bring this up because this is something that's come up on my YouTube channel before too. Especially, this is really for like the new guys out there and or new members out there. Sorry, there I go with guys again. But this is for the new members out there. So if you look around my shop and you see Matt's shop too, you're going to see a ton of equipment. And I just want to be real clear that like this stuff was built over time and over years. And a lot of people see this and they're like, oh, I want to start a sharpening business, and they're on a tight budget, or they think they can't do it. And I just want to say that you absolutely can. And one of the things I did purposely show in the videos. So yes, if you look behind me, you're going to see 2 Tormek machines. I worked for like 3 years with one. Okay. I worked with one CBN wheel and one machine. I had a guy just yesterday on my YouTube channel write me from Australia. He went out, he bought a used Tormek machine, and on his first customer, he paid off the machine. He did like 47 knives for a restaurant and made back the money for that machine in one day. So don't be like scared off when you see all this gear that we have. For most of us, this has been built over time. You can start small, you can, and build it as you go and add gear as you go. A lot of it for me, it was done out of necessity, but it was all built through the business. So, I didn't have all this when I started. As I got money in, I invested it back into the business, and that's how I've grown it. So just like to put that out there because I know, it's always a concern. And, I don't care if you're starting with a Ken Onion Elite or something small, you can do it. Guys, do it. They do it all the time. There's plenty of people that start small, and, and I'm a big proponent of having multiple ways of sharpening stuff. So I have 1x30s, 2x42s, and Tormex and grinders. And I like having multiple stuff, but don't think you don't have to go out day one and get all that stuff. You can start small and be successful and build it over time.
I love that, dude. Singing my song. Like I built this off of the back of the Edge Pro. Like I was in the other corner of my basement on a single bench with one Edge Pro, and I built my whole shop off of that. And like, Paul and I, if this is something that interests you, like we'll show you how. Like we will literally show you. Like we'll tell you everything. Like ask every question you have. Like come to the live meetups, and like we'll literally coach you through the whole process. Rich, if you right? Like, not to say you can't do it yourself, you absolutely can do it yourself, but if you value your time, like, we can probably save you years off of getting to that point. So
Yeah.
that's to me, that's the value that being part of a community like the Guild of Professional Sharpeners brings, in addition to
Yeah,
the
that's one place
resources.
where we've always are definitely we see eye to eye. Like I'm not a hoarder of knowledge. I love to share it. For me, with my business, I've always seemed to get it back. Even when my customers come in the shop, if they're interested in sharpening, I talk to them about it as much as they want to hear and know and learn. Um, and I've kind of always loved that with any of my hobbies or things I've done. I've always gravitated towards people that aren't like keeping the secrets to themselves. So people have always been very giving to me, whether it's been sharpening knowledge or I was talking to Matt earlier. One of my big hobbies is photography, and kind of the same thing there. I've always gravitated to photographers that share their knowledge. And that's kind of how I feel about it. And that's the one thing I love about the group. I think almost everybody in here kind of feels like that. Like we're all looking to help each other succeed.
Love it. All right. So, well, I hope if you've watched it this far, I hope to see you in the guild. And again, we'll include links to everything. And Paul, thank you again for putting so much energy into all of this. It's fantastic.
No problem. It's been fun, and I hope it adds some value out there for everybody that's a member of the guild.